Good afternoon, students. Today we will be revising the important portions of Unit 4 functions. We will be seeing the different argument passing techniques and we will also see the scope of the variable. These three important topics we will revise once again because it is very important in your exam point of view. So coming to functions, the basic idea is any program we can write a program using functions and also without using functions. The main idea of using function is that function is a part of the code to which you will be providing some input. So the function works on it and it will provide an output. This function is the specific task what we are intending to perform. Now let us see an example, a simple example, so that you will understand it better. Look at the first example. I am going to write a program to add two numbers without using functions. So this is a very simple program in which I will be getting the value of A from the user, I will be getting the value of B from the user, and I will find the value of C by adding A and B, and I am printing the value of C. So this part of the program, that is in this particular program, I have not used any function concept. Now let me ask you a question. What is the main function this program is performing? It is addition. So next, the same program I am going to implement with the help of using function concept. So what I am going to do is the main function C is equal to A plus B. This is the main function. So for performing this particular function alone, I am going to write a code separately for performing addition operation. Now look at this example. The same function only, the same program only. This program I have not used any function. In this particular program I am going to use a function concept. Here what I am doing is I am defining the addition part of the program. This particular function part alone I am defining separately. So let me tell you the syntax. I have to first use a keyword def, that is I am going to define a function, then give a name to your function. So this name is similar to variable name. What are all the rules which are applicable for giving variable names? The same rules are applicable for giving function name also. So what are the rules applicable for giving a variable name? The variable name should not contain any special characters. It can have some underscore. It should not start with a number. So these are some of the rules for giving variable name. The same rules are applicable for function also, and also it should not be a keyword. That is, the function name should not be a keyword. And within the bracket, if it is a function, definitely I have to give a bracket. I have to mention the variable names, and also I have to mention how many variables the function is going to have. So when I look at this particular first line, what I can understand is I am going to define a function. The name of the function is add, and that particular function is going to use two variables as inputs. One is x, the other one is y. And what I am going to do is just I am going to add the value of x and y, store it in sum, then I am going to return the value of sum. So this part of the program alone I will write separately. And look at here, I have used a semicolon. So this is the syntax. So if you use a def keyword and give a function name, you have to mention the variable name, then give a semicolon, which means give a colon, and this 4 indentation space means that these two lines alone come under this particular function definition part. Okay, so you may have a doubt, since I have defined this particular line first, does the program execution start from this particular line? No, definitely not. So the program, though I have written this as a first line of the program, this part does not get executed first. What happens is the program gets executed from this particular line only. That is, this is the starting point of the program. Okay, so first you will get the value of A from the user, then the value of B is got from the user. Now here C is equal to add of A comma B. Here this is an assignment statement. What is given to the right of the assignment statement only gets executed first. So this portion alone gets executed first. Add of A comma B. What is the meaning is, what is the name to the function you have given? Add. So with the same name I am calling the function. This particular line is called as function call, right? While calling the function, I should also mention what are all the inputs to the particular function. So A and B are the inputs to the particular function. So when this particular line gets executed, what happens is the program control flows from this particular line to the definition part. While it is going, program flow is going like this. It also carries the value of a and b along with it, and stores the value of a in x and stores the value of b in y. So the function, when the function call gets executed, the program control flows from this particular line to the definition part. When it is flowing like this, it also carries the input a and b and stores it in x and y respectively. So next the x and y value are added and it is stored in sum, and this value of sum is getting returned. Now again, where we have to return, this is a question, right? So we have called the function from this particular line. So after the function is over, after the addition process is over, we will return back to the same place from where the function was called. So return sum, the sum is returned from to the place from where it was called. So the sum gets returned to the same place. So this add of a comma b's return value is this sum, right? So the add of a comma b is a function. The function is called, it goes here, the addition process is over, and the sum is getting returned to this particular same place from where it was called. So the add of a comma b's function's return value is sum. That sum is getting stored in C, and then the value of C is printed. So this is the main idea of how to write a program using functions. That is the main part, the particular function alone is returned separately. This is what is called as function definition. And then we will be writing the other codes separately. So let us now see a simple another example so that you will better understand once again. So here I am finding the cube of a number. I'm going to find the cube of a number. I'm going to get the value of x from the user or a from the user, and I'm going to find what is the cube of that particular number and going to print the result. Now the program I have written without using functions, right? So first I'm getting the value of a from the user. Then I'm finding the cube using a into a into a. Cube is you know the formula for finding the cube, right? Simple. So then I'm printing the value of cube. So if I get a value as 2 from the user, the result will be 2 into 2 into 2, 8. The 8 will get stored in cube and the value of cube is getting printed. Now what happens next, the same program I am writing with function, right? So I'm going to define the cube of the name of the function is cube of, right? And here it is going to return x into x into x. This is the program. See here from where the program gets executed, it is not getting starting to execute from here. It will start from this particular place, right? So when the function is called, then only this particular part of the code will get activated. Again I'm telling, since I am writing this portion in the front, that is I am writing it as the first line, so it doesn't mean that this line will get executed first. Okay, so whenever I call the function, then only the function definition part will get executed. So now the input I am getting from the user, then I'm giving print of cube of a. So print is a function, cube of is another function. So function is used inside another function. This is called as composition of functions, and you know that the innermost function gets executed first. So cube of a function is called, right? So cube of is the name I have given. So with the same name I am calling the function. So the program control flows from this particular place to the place where I have defined the function. While going, it also carries the value of a which we have got from the user and stores it in x. Suppose if I have got the value of a as 2 from the user, the 2 is getting carried, that 2 is getting stored in x. So what I am returning here, x into x into x into x, that is 2 into 2 into 2, so I am returning the value of 8. I am returning the value 8, where I am returning from where it will get returned to the same place from where the function was called. So we have called the function from this particular place. So the value of 8 gets returned here, and I will print the value of 8 here. So the output of this particular program will be 8 if I give the input as 2. So this is how the function works. Now I will be defining I'll be introducing you two more new terms, actual argument and formal parameters. Parameters and arguments both mean the same, that is inputs are called as parameters and arguments. But what is the difference is, what we are using in the function call is said to be actual argument. The same when it is passed to the function definition, when it comes here, then this is called as a formal parameter. So simply this A is the actual argument, that is the actual input what we have got from the user. We are passing it to this particular function. So inside the function definition it is stored in X, right? So that X is called as the formal parameter. So this is you may be getting a question, what is the difference between an actual argument and a formal parameter? So better know this. Okay, so next we will go to the next topic, that is parameter passing techniques. We are passing inputs to the program, right? We have passed the value of A, we pass the value of X from the calling function to the called function. How we are passing? The methods, the methodology used for passing the parameters is called as parameter passing techniques. So it may be classified into two categories. One is call by value, the other one is call by reference. In C program you would have learned this before. There is call by value is nothing but and that is the value, that is when we are passing the value of the actual argument, the copy of the actual argument is sent to the formal parameter. In call by reference, the variable's address is sent. Here the copy of the variable is sent, here the address of the variable is sent. So here what happens is, the changes what you make inside the function definition doesn't get reflected in the calling function, that is in the main program. Here when the changes made in the sub function or function definition will get reflected back in the actual arguments also. So as of now you understand what is call by value and call by reference. Let us see in detail what happens in Python. Okay, Python is neither using call by value nor call by reference. Python is neither using call by value nor call by reference. It is using a technique called as call by object. Call by object is also called as call by object reference or call by sharing. What is the meaning is, based on the object passed or based on the data type passed, the Python interpreter decides whether to follow pass by value or to follow pass by reference. So take for example, if we pass integers, strings and tuples, that is I think you remember these are all immutable data types. You cannot make changes to these values. You cannot modify a string, you cannot modify a tuple, you cannot modify an integer also, right? So these kind of immutable data types, when these are passed as the inputs to the function, then it follows call by value or pass by value. The other data types, take for example, if we are going to pass a list, then it is pass by reference. Let us see a simple example so that you better understand what is pass by value and pass by reference. Now look at this program. Here I'm going to find this question, how I found the cube of a particular value. Likewise, I'm going to find the square of a particular value. Here, from which particular line the program starts executed, that is, it is executing from this particular k, right? So the definition part doesn't get executed. Only when I call the function, then only the part gets executed. Again and again I'm saying, okay? So the value of k is 2. This is an assignment statement. So I'm calling a square of k. I am calling square of k. So from this particular portion, the program controls flows here. It copies the value of k to n, right? So the value of n is 2. Now the value of n is getting updated. 2 into 2 is 4, and that 4 is getting stored in n, and I am storing that n in square. So the value of square is 4, right? And I am returning the value of square, it is 4. The value of k is still 2, but the value of n is getting updated to 4. That is, the actual argument k remains the same, but the formal parameter I have made some modifications, right? So after this, what I am doing is I am printing the value of j, that is the result 4 I will get. Then I am also printing the value of k, that is the original value k is 2 and it is remaining unaffected. What I come to say is, k is the actual argument, it is an integer. I am passing the integer here, so it is passing by Python follows pass by value, because integer is an immutable data type. So n into n is I'm making changes to the formal parameter n, but it is not getting reflected in this k, right? The k value remains as 2 as such. Okay, this is an example of pass by value. Okay, so the k value does not gets affected, that is the k value is the actual argument, and it is not getting affected at all. Though the formal parameter is getting changed, the actual argument is not getting changed. Okay, now Okay, now let us see the next example. Pass by example for pass by reference. Okay, now this is a list, right? So from this particular line alone, from this particular line only my program gets executed. This is my list and I am having three variables here: apple, pear and lemon. Okay, so I am printing this. So this is my list. Imagine this is the memory for my list. Apple, pear and lemon is stored in my list. Okay, then I am printing the value of my list, so I will get apple, pear and lemon. Then I am calling the function change list. Change list is a function which I have defined here. Okay, so change my list. So my list is the input which I am passing to the function. So what happens, the program control moves from this particular line to this particular line. So my list carries apple, pear and lemon to the list. Now the list will have the have the values apple, pear and lemon. Okay, so what happens here is I am printing the value of the list. So apple, pear, lemon gets printed here. Now the list dot append, you know the syntax for appending a value, right? So the list dot append orange. I am appending the value orange to the list. So what happens, along with apple, pear, lemon and lemon, the value of orange also gets the value of orange also gets appended. Then I am printing the list, so I will be getting apple, pear, lemon and orange. Okay, so the list is a mutable data type. So what happens is the change what you make here gets reflected in this my list also. So the my list, when this particular append is being done, the my list also gets changed as apple, pear, lemon and also orange gets appended here also. So the change what you make in the formal parameter gets reflected back in the actual argument also. So the output is, first this particular line is getting printed apple, pear, lemon, original list. Then I am calling it, so the original list apple, pear and lemon. Then the third input after appending, it is apple, pear, lemon and orange. After here after this change list, after the function call is over, I will return back to the next line. So I am printing the my list, so the original list also got affected. So apple, pear, lemon and orange. So since list is a mutable data type, the changes what you make in the formal parameters gets reflected back in the actual argument also. So this is an example of pass by reference. Okay, so these are the very important topics, so that's why only I am once again revising these topics. Okay, so then the last topic what we are going to see today is scope of a variable. A scope of a variable means the visibility of the variable, where the variable is valid, where the variable becomes invalid. Okay, so variable can be defined as a local variable or a global variable. The variable that is defined inside the function is called as a local variable. The variable which is defined outside the function is called as a global variable. Take for example, look at this particular program here. From which line the program gets started, that is s is equal to 20. Okay, so s is equal to 20. My function name is print value, so I am calling the function print value. Right here I am not passing any inputs to the function. This kind of function is called as a void function. When you pass some input and get some output, then it is called as a fruitful function. When you don't pass any input, then it is called as a void function. You can pass like this also. I am just calling the function, right? So I am just calling the function. So just I am calling the function. So the program control goes from this particular place to this particular place where I have defined the function. Here inside the function I have given s is equal to 20. So this s is a local variable and I am printing the value of s. So the interpreter looks for the local variable only. It doesn't go for the global variable. The interpreter checks whether s is defined inside the function. Yes, s is defined inside the function. The value is 20. So it prints, sorry, let this value be 10. Okay, so the value is 20. So what happens is it prints the value as 20. Okay, ma'am. Then what happens after this line is over, we come back to the this particular line is over, so we come back to the next line. I am printing the value of s. So this s is defined, checks when while printing this, the interpreter checks whether s is defined anywhere here. Yes is defined here. S is 20, sorry, s is 10, so it prints the value as 10. Inside the function, the value of s is 20. This is a local variable. This s is defined outside the function. It is a global variable. So here when I am printing the s, the value becomes 20. When it comes outside the function, the value of s is 10. So this is what is called as the scope of the variable, that is the global variable and a local variable. You may get a question, what is the difference between a local variable and a global variable? These are the important topics what we have seen today, and this will be the questions for your home test today. And 5 questions I have given you, that is develop a basic mathematical calculator, that is all the programs you have to perform with the help of functions only. Then next you have to find the area of a circle, then find a factorial of a number, find the length of the string, and add new elements to a list. Already we have seen an example, the similar program only you are going to do. And you need not, if you want you can write it. If you don't have a system, what I expect you to do is, you just type the program, along with the output you take a screenshot and just submit it in your Google Classroom. All the 5 programs, you take 5 screenshots of the output what you have got, and then you can submit it as the home test. If you don't have a system or don't have the facility, then you can write the program, then you can upload it, and you do it before 5 o'clock, and this will be the home test questions. Thank you, students.